Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I get this rare opportunity to catch up with the most brilliant person I know on the internet, Miss Yvette Carnell. How you doing today, Yvette?
Good, boys. How about yourself?
I'm doing really well. How are things over at BreakingBrown.com? Going good?
We're growing, so we're good. We're
All
good.
right. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I consider it a rare opportunity because you and I don't get a chance to talk as much. But this is just one of my favorite times because you're smart and you're a hell of a writer, and you always say that stuff that everyone either doesn't know to say or is afraid to say or whatever or can't say. And one of the things you've been saying for a long time is that MSNBC, that they were kind of going through an era when Obama was elected, and then maybe I guess from maybe say let's say '07 up until maybe last year or this year, where they kind of made themselves into the opposite of Fox News. You know, the left leaning version of Fox. You know, like we're not really gonna give you the news at night. We're gonna give you this kind of entertainment slash political pep rally. And one of the things that they did as well, since we had a black president, was they gave a lot of opportunities to African American commentators, and they gave shows to African Americans, stuff like that. And one of the things you had been saying from the very beginning, back years ago, is you said that when the Obama era is done, when they have used these people up, they're going to chew them up, spit them out, and they're going to be gone. And it almost seems like a lot of that's coming true so far. First, you saw Goldie Taylor get dumped, and she seems pretty bitter about it. You saw Joy Reid lose her show. She's still employed by MSNBC, but she's been demoted. And now there's even talk about Al Sharpton getting dropped, or at least being moved to a weekend slot. Now, this hasn't been confirmed, but it's been reported by various media outlets. The Daily Beast kind of speculated on it from a source that they had. So we don't know for sure, but there's a lot of buzz about this. What are your thoughts as you kind of see all this kind of happening around you?
Well, I just think the job of being a race explainer, isn't worth as much once the first black president is kind of winding down his administration. If we're all honest about why Al Sharpton was given a job, he was given a job partly because of that Comcast situation and giving them cover, but he was also given a job to say every day at 6 o'clock, look, Obama is the best president we've ever had, and Republicans are awful. And everything they do is racist. So that was the reason that he was even given a slot. So now what you find is that what is his usefulness? Because coming in, next time will either be Hillary Clinton or Jeb Bush probably, and neither one of them are black, and we don't need a race explainer anymore because there was no insightful racial analysis from Al Sharpton. There was no insightful racial analysis from Joy Reid. So these people were there just to kind of prop up the administration. And as the administration winds down, these people are going to go. And it's interesting to me that what MSNBC is saying is basically, well, we're going to go back to news. They said their new strategy is to basically go back to straight news. So they don't want it, so it doesn't look like, we're just dumping these people. No, we're just going back to news. Well, really, you just don't need them anymore. It was so great though because they included like Conan Farrow, who's a white guy, so it kind of looks like well, it wasn't just it wasn't just all black people that are going, even though it's a 3-1 right now. If Al goes to the weekend, as they're speculating, so there's no way to know, but I anticipate it's somewhere down the line. Is Torre gone yet? I anticipate his day is coming as well.
Do they even use Torre? I mean, I don't really watch that network
Isn't he
very
still?
much. Do,
I
do
haven't
they use
watched.
them?
I haven't watched MSNBC in forever. But isn't he still on the cycle? I thought he was still on the cycle. Is he still on the cycle or not?
You know what? He might be. I don't watch any of that crap. I just don't. I don't. I get my news on the internet now.
Me too.
And I tell all black people, I think, just walk away from when it comes to major network television and cable news, just walk away. Walk away. Go to places that are going to give you good information, give you the truth. I love Your Black World. That happens to be my favorite site, and Breaking Brown and stuff like that. But there are other places out here too. I just think that the ability for us to communicate fluidly with one another has never been so great, and we should take advantage of that. I mean, we don't have to watch the crap that's being fed to us.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I just think it's interesting the way that the way that this happened, the way that these people were kind of given this perch at MNSBC, this lean forward organization, and now the bottom's falling out. It looks as if, and that's the way it works, and that's who you were to this organization, to this media conglomerate. They needed people. Okay, we have a black president, so obviously, as if black people are some sort of, as if we speak another language, as if we don't speak English. We obviously need interpreters. So, you have these people who are charged with interpreting for black people. And then when that's over with, okay, you are going to be sidelined because we're going back to regular news now as opposed to news viewed through the prism of blackness and our black president. So, I mean, it was, even if Al Sharpton doesn't go now or go to the weekend now, I think his time is limited. He's never been really good with the teleprompter. He's never been really good, in terms of, he never got comfortable with reading from that thing. So I think his days are numbered regardless, and I think he's fulfilled his duty, and so he can move on.
So, well, first of all, I would say that we know Sharpton struggles with that teleprompter, and they've memed it to death and done little funny videos, and they are hilarious. But I don't think we should misinterpret that to mean that he's not a smart person. He's a smart person. Now, being a smart person doesn't always mean that you're an ethical person, and so that that might be where the question mark comes, because he's got this lawsuit being filed against him, for basically getting in bed with Comcast and NBC when they were subject to scrutiny about whether or not they were going to give black-owned stations opportunities to own media in their conglomerate network. So what they did was they made deals with the NAACP, the Urban League, the National Action Network, Al Sharpton, and some people think that they took care of the people at the top and kind of left the rest of the black community hanging out to dry. I don't know if that's the case or not, but so Sharpton's kind of dealing with that too. But I'm wondering, do you think that maybe it's a possibility that Sharpton and Melissa Harris Perry and all the other black people at MSNBC scooped up when Obama got elected? Do you think that they kind of knew the deal? Like, do you kind of think that they just said, you know what, I'm going to get 4 or 5 good years out of this. I'll get to heighten my brand, make some money, and then when it's over, it's going to be over. I mean, do you think that they are disappointed, or do you think that some of them actually knew that this was going to happen?
Well, I judge it from Goldie Taylor's Twitter feed. She was disappointed, and she felt mistreated. Now, I didn't go into that in terms of exactly why that was. In terms of, I didn't go that deep into it. I think I put something on Breaking Brown about it, just to kind of put it out there. This happened. This is a thing that happened in the Twitterverse today. But I didn't go into exactly why she felt mistreated by the network. And there could definitely be some real stuff there. Black people do get mistreated. They do get discriminated against. That does happen. But I don't think she left, based on her own Twitter feed, I don't think she left in good terms. And I'm not saying anything negative about Goldie in terms of what she did, but I'm just talking about how this happened. So I don't think that she felt that she was, I don't think she anticipated that. I don't think Joy Reid anticipated that. What is this, like 1 year after her show went on the air? She went on the air in 2014. It's 2015 and she's gone. So I don't think she anticipated being gone, and especially being gone this soon. Who knows what kind of deal Al Sharpton cut in terms of, but either way, I'm sure whatever deal he cut, he's fine. He's good. Like you said, he's a smart man. So I'm sure whatever deal he cut, he's good. It doesn't mean that he necessarily translates for very well for TV. You can be a smart person and just not translate well on the screen. So I think that's been part of his struggle all the time, which is why the National Association of Black Journalists, called MSNBC out, when they hired him and said, hey, you got all these black journalists and you're bringing this guy on who doesn't have a background in any of that. So what are you doing? So, and that's not to say that everybody who works in journalism has to be a journalist, but it was obvious to anyone who was paying attention what MSNBC was up to and who they were trying to cater to. So, even if Al Sharpton goes to the weekend or whatever, I mean, I think he will have set himself up to where he's still good. You know what I mean? He will have cut a deal to where he's still fine, even if that happens to him.
Well, yeah, I understood the Sharpton hiring to a point, in the sense that if you consider if you just imagine that MSNBC was trying to pretty much do what Fox is doing, and they're not as good at it as Fox is. I mean, let's just be clear. Fox, if you look at the ratings, Fox kills MSNBC. They're envied by MSNBC because they spew this stuff that just is the craziest ignorance you can ever imagine, but it does well. Or the O'Reilly factor usually triples or quadruples most of the MSNBC shows. So if you imagine that that's what they were trying to do, they said, look, we're trying to do what Fox does. We'll just do the left version of that. Sharpton would be the right choice. He is, to some extent, the anti-Bill O'Reilly. A journalist is not somebody who necessarily fits in that role. And I think that we leave ourselves somewhat delusional when we really think that these nighttime shows are about producing that old school Walter Cronkite objective journalism. I mean, maybe during the daytime they still do a lot of that, right? MSNBC and Fox kind of agree during the day we're not going to throw too many lies at each other and too much bias. But at nighttime, all bets are off. It's all about those ratings. If you go in there and you dance with a piece of chicken and watermelon in your hands or whatever, and you get good ratings, they will give you a raise and a promotion and a show, right? So I think that journalists, black journalists, have to find other areas, other avenues where their talents can be used. Maybe find ways to broaden their skill without disrupting their integrity. I think Roland Martin has done a good job of that. I think Roland to me was a person who was a direct beneficiary of the Obama rise. I mean, they yanked CNN, in my opinion, yanked him out of Chicago because he was close to the Obamas. When they didn't need him anymore, they parted ways. Roland says he wasn't fired, but I truly believe that if he could still be there under good terms, he would be. But Roland's doing okay. Roland's still performing as a journalist with News One, a nice platform, and he gets to still pull out a little bit of his inner Bill O'Reilly, if you will. He gets to show that his personality. He doesn't have to be a stiff journalist like, say, Brian Williams. He can actually get in there and get in fights and arguments with people, and it seems to be working. So I think journalists have to be very creative in operating in the 21st century, because I don't think things are like they used to be back in the 1980s and 1990s. That those days are never going to come back, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I saw Roland Martin on Morning Joe. Somebody told me he was on Morning Joe one week talking about that sorority controversy when it was going on. So he still gets picked, by he that period where he was on CNN is still a reason that people will come and pull him. You know what I mean? To come and be on their shows and be the voice of whatever for the black community. Because one of the things I say about Roland, and even though I've had some disagreements with Roland, there is no doubt when you talk to Roland, when you listen to Roland, when you see Roland, that this anchored in the African American. He has his finger on the pulse. There's no doubt that if you put Roland Martin in a barbershop or anywhere, he's going to do just fine. This guy, he's a man's man. So I think people continue to come to Roland also because there's a degree of authenticity that you see in him that you don't necessarily see in everyone who's in the black media. There are some people who are on TV, and who say they sort of represent black people. But when you hear them talking, you kind of makes you wonder when's the last time they were in a room full of black people? Because you don't sound anything like I remember when Jonathan Capehart said something about, black people talking about going back to Africa and talking about Kwanzaa is just disturbs me because I don't think black people know what they're talking about and where does this come from. They're talking about a continent they don't know anything about, and I'm like, this is a tradition. This is a Pan-Africanist tradition going back decades of black people going back to Africa. Black people there was an article recently about black people going back to Ghana. That black people were repatriating to Ghana in record numbers. So where have you been? Like it doesn't really sound like you're engaged with black people on a regular basis. Whereas with Roland, that's not a question. You're gonna get authenticity. You're gonna get tapped in. So I think that's still part of his charm, and that's still part of his value.
I agree. I mean, I don't know how the ratings would have worked out, but I think that when Sharpton got that show, I think Roland would have been a good choice for that slot. I don't know what the terms were. I did talk to Roland about it for a second. I won't go into what we what we discussed, but I did say, I think that that he would have done a better job with that. And the question at the end of the day, though, is about money and ratings. I mean, that's what these networks care about, unfortunately, and that's and I think that's a liability, because I think that part of the reason we're able to talk about what we talk about is because, all we care about is making enough money to pay our bills and do what we got to do. We're not trying to maximize profits for a group of shareholders, which I think creates a whole set of very deformed incentives for your organization. So, it looks like, I'm gonna tell you this. I predict that you're right, or that the rumors about Sharpton possibly making an exit at some point. I believe those rumors. I believe that that he'll probably be moved to a weekend slot and maybe even eliminated from the network entirely. And then I also believe Melissa Harris Perry will be next. And I think that within 2 years, within a year and a half, I don't really see any African American hosting a show on MSNBC. What do you predict?
Really, not one. I think there'll probably be one or two keepers. I just can't decide who
Mm.
that's going to be.
Right. Who? I mean,
I,
who would that be? It's not. I don't think it will be Melissa Harris Perry. I mean, she's not even
but
that.
she's already on the
I don't even think
weekend.
she's that good on TV. Do you think
But
she's any
she's
good?
already on the weekend. She doesn't have to be. She doesn't have to be. She doesn't have to be that good because she's already on the weekend. You know what I mean? So the standard is lower on the weekend. So
That's
they
true.
able to
Don't, yeah,
keep
don't nobody be watching on the weekends, so I guess that.
her.
Nobody watches on the weekends, so I guess the weekends might be wide open. I guess I'm wondering. I will predict. I know that when it comes to nighttime shows, there won't be any African Americans. I
No, I
really
think so.
believe that. Daytime, they might throw them a bone. Find. I think they might find maybe a new face. Or maybe an old face and promote that face, but I think it'll be a straight journalist, somebody like a T.J. Holmes type of person. By
Well,
the way, where is
Cameron,
T.J.?
Cameron
TJ's
Hall.
at ABC News, right?
Yeah, I think he moved there. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I think it'll be like a straight laced journalist. I don't
but
think
but but is Tamron Hall still at MSNBC? I can't remember because isn't she doing something with
oh,
the today
she's
with
with
the Today Show? Or something?
she's with the Today Show now, so she left to go
So
there.
she's not doing it. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I just don't see it. I mean, I really think I was in agreement with you that the black journalists and black commentators that to some extent they were being used by these networks because the black thing was kind of hot and interesting with Obama's rise. Race was an interesting topic. Race was big for ratings. Whenever you had a racial controversy, ratings would shoot through the roof. So, why not have your resident black people that you bring in every now and then to talk about race? And I can't, I can't say too much. I mean, I've been that person many times with some of these networks. But what's unfortunate though is that this is where white supremacy and racism comes into play. Is that there's a point where people can only see you as a black person. They can't see you as anything else. They're like, oh, you're black, so we're going to have you talk about this black thing. And I know that for myself, that was that was always like a little bit uncomfortable, maybe even borderline dehumanizing, because I'm not just a black man. I'm a human being. I have a PhD in finance, and there were times actually. And here's the funny thing, and this is the last thing I'll say on this. This is actually funny now that I think about it. I quit appearing on Fox News back when I got in the fight with O'Reilly back in '08. But do you know that Fox was the only network that would bring me on to talk about things that had nothing to do with race? That was the only
Mhm.
network. They would have me on their financial shows. They would have me on their daytime shows talking about politics. And sometimes I'd be like, well, why do you guys want me to talk about, the U.S. foreign policy in North Korea? That's not my area of expertise. So sometimes I'd have to say no. And that's when I learned that a lot of this is all about just the ratings. It's about getting somebody who can communicate on television, who isn't going to freeze up, who knows what to say, whatever. But in many cases, I can think about times where I would go on these financial shows that they had on Fox, and it is interesting that here you have this network that's known for being conservative, racist, and everything else, which they are. I'm not taking that off their head, but I can give them credit. That was one of the few places on national television I could go where they'd say, okay, we don't want to hear about race. We want you to talk about the economy. We want you to talk about the stock market. And that was actually liberating. I can't
Yeah.
say that has happened very much on CNN, MSNBC, these other networks. No disrespect to them, but that's just the truth.
Yeah, I want to tell if a TV producer calls me, I want to ask me what to tell me what they want me to talk about. I want to tell them I want to talk about the Ukraine, you know, and just sit on the phone and wait and then see the response. So no, I understand exactly what you're saying.
No, you cannot talk about the Ukraine. You can only talk about black people. But I always say you're so smart that I think that I think you'd be great to have a show on TV. But I think for you'd be good on a network like a PBS or something like that, where you wouldn't have to worry about pissing off a corporate sponsor. I think that if you were able to just be free and do your thing, I think you would absolutely kill it. And I think people would love you for the same reason they like Chris Hayes. Because I think people enjoy a really intelligent person that can deliver important ideas in a really effective way. And I put you in that Chris Hayes category. That's my 2 cents. What do you think?
I take it as a compliment.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say I don't want to insult Yvette. Okay, I don't have anything else to say. I guess we're all done here. All right. Well, thank you, Yvette. It was great to talk to you, and it'll be interesting to see how things shape up with Sharpton. Not just with the lawsuit, but he just always has such an interesting life. There's always so many things going on with
That's
this
one
brother.
way to say it.
Yeah, that brother, man. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but I think with this lawsuit and this thing with MSNBC, and not to mention all the other things that are probably going on that we don't even know anything about. It's good. There's always going to be something to talk about. So I wish him the best, and I wish him MSNBC the best, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. And thank you, Yvette. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. I enjoyed being here.
All right, everybody. This is Yvette Carnell from BreakingBrown.com. Make sure you go to BreakingBrown.com. Make sure you sign up when you go to the website. Make sure you support. If she's selling something, buy it. It might cost $4. Give her $4. If you see black people selling
You can give
anything,
me $4 anyway.
there you go. If you see black people,
Donate me
if you
$4
see
anyway.
black people selling anything, and you believe in what they're doing, vote with your dollar bills. It doesn't cost much, and I just throw that out there because I want to push the idea of cooperative and supportive economics. One of the ways that we're able to grow is when people buy things from us. We're not trying to drive Bentleys and Beamers and live in big houses. We actually put that money right back into the engine. We hire black people. We're able to push our message further and harder and be more effective at it. So we can't do it without you. So thank you to those who support us. We love you very, very much. So until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.